neighboring country is facing the worst flooding in a decade. Pakistanis are in desperate need of aid as authorities say they have been overwhelmed by the scale of the disaster, with the country's climate minister calling it a monster monsoon. Know why the country is facing the worst floods. Hello and welcome. You're watching Unplugged TV India. This is Alice Francis. Thanks for tuning in. Even by the standards of Pakistan's perpetually unstable politics, the last few months in the country have been exceptionally turbulent. Beginning the year with a major political crisis, followed by economic crisis, and now adding to the misery of the people of Pakistan as devastating floods have killed over 1,000 people and wreaked damage to property and natural life. Pakistan is facing one of the worst floods in its recent history. The devastation has impacted some 33 million people and led to the deaths of almost 1,200 others over the past 2 months. Climate Change Minister Sherry Rahman said on Monday that 1/3 of Pakistan, a country of about 220 million people, was underwater, creating a crisis of unimaginable proportions since June 11, when the monsoon seasonal rainfall began. The unprecedented monsoon season has affected all 4 provinces of the country. The National Disaster Management Authority, leading the response in coordinating assessments and directing humanitarian relief to affected people, declared 72 out of the country's 160 districts as calamity hit in its latest situation report. The NDMA noted that at least 1 million homes, 160 bridges and nearly 3,500 kilometers of roads have been damaged or destroyed across the South Asian nation. The flooding has also killed more than 800,000 farm animals and damaged vital farmlands and crops. Many rivers in the area have burst their banks. On 25th of August, Pakistan had declared a national emergency in the face of the climate crisis. The army's helicopters were also struggling to plug people to safety in the north, where steep hills and valleys made the flying condition difficult. Meanwhile, amid the situation, many other countries like China, UK, UAE and Canada extended aid to the flood-hit Pakistan. The UN is set to launch $161 million flash appeal for Pakistan on Tuesday. The funding will provide critical food and cash assistance to nearly 1 million people in districts in Balochistan, Sindh, Punjab and Khyber provinces of the global body said. The first flight from the UAE carrying over 3,000 tons of relief goods arrived at the PAF base Nur Khan on Sunday. At least 15 plane loads of relief goods from the UAE are scheduled to land in the country in the coming days. Meanwhile, the Canadian government allocated USD 20,000 to the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies for flood relief operation in Pakistan. Now, what has caused these worst floods in Pakistan? The annual monsoon is essential for irrigating crops and replenishing lakes and dams across the Indian subcontinent. But with each year comes a wave of destruction. 2 months of unprecedented monsoon rains have triggered the devastating floods this time. According to officials in Pakistan, human-caused climate change has brought stronger monsoon and more damage. Corruption, poor planning and the flouting of local regulations also mean that thousands of buildings have been erected in areas prone to seasonal flooding. Meanwhile, Minister Sherry Rahman said last week that Pakistan was witnessing its 8th cycle of monsoon, whereas it normally witnesses 3 to 4 cycles of monsoon rains. Citing data, she warned of another cycle re-emerging in September. The month of August has been exceptionally wet in Pakistan, which witnesses monsoons from July to September. The active rainfall is only for a month and a half. The PMD Director General said that flood situation in the country could have been even worse had it not been for the timely forecast. The predictions for very heavy rainfall were made in April and May, which gave government agencies time to prepare. Now about the Pakistan situation after the floods. Pakistan, which is already reeling under economic crisis after the large-scale devastation caused by the floods, will lead to a huge loss to farmers, leading to a need to import more foods in a country where 43% of population faces food insecurity. In Sindh alone, almost all the cotton and sugarcane crops has been destroyed, affecting not only farmers but also the textile industry. The loss in agriculture will hit the entire agribusiness chain, from middlemen to pesticide and fertilizer manufacturers, sales agents and other staff. The repercussions of flash floods may include higher imports, compromise on exports and rising inflation, which will undermine efforts of the government to tackle the macro headwinds. According to a research report, the unusual heavy monsoon rains and devastating flash floods have been estimated to cost cash-strapped Pakistan's economy over $4 billion in the current fiscal. Meanwhile, in this first statement on the floods in Pakistan, extending heartfelt condolences to victims, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said he was saddened by the situation in a rare outreach to the neighboring country on a day Pakistan's finance minister said he would consider reopening trade routes with India. Meanwhile, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar pitched for more regional trade and for India's role in helping the neighborhood to be more generous and non-reciprocal as it was in Sri Lanka. Thank you for watching Unplugged TV India. Please hit like, subscribe and share.